Welcome back to the Practical Shaman Podcast. And today I have my sister from another mother and a wind whistler and who's quickly become a really active member of the Wind Clan group, who has this amazing story and this amazing vibrancy, and she's a healer. Her name is Heather Lee Huff, and she's the founder of a grassroots Center for Awakening Art in New Braunfels, Texas, where you can still swim in a crystal clear pond, which gets me all very excited. She teaches Reiki and meditation classes, works as a medium, and facilitates shamanic healing circles for women. Heather offers transformational healing sessions for adults, children, couples, and families. She's committed to building conscious community practices and teaching others how to connect with their deep authenticity. Wow, that's a word. She teaches and practices how to live in more harmony with each other on the earth. And she also, and one of the things we're going to talk about today, she homeschools her 2 children and runs a nature-based homeschool group in her town. And welcome, Heather. I'm really excited that you're here with us today.
Thank you, Renee. I'm really excited to be here with you. It's an honor.
It's great. So Heather and I, just for a little background, is a lot of times we were having similar things in different towns going on. And it's almost like if I know it, she's knowing it. It's kind of this, and we've never met in person yet. Yes. Probably I'm coming down there this fall. And the good part is that she's like, I don't know, she's become like a really right hand in the Wind Clan group, and she's done a few of the Wind Mastery classes. And all the while she's, I've watched as she's been at really integrity with her children and her family and walking through life on life's terms. So tell us a little bit about how you got to New Braunfels, Texas, where the water is still clean.
Where the water is still clean. We hope it'll stay that way. We kind of laugh and say Spirit just kind of dumped us here. We're from Southern California in San Diego, and I was in corporate America, and when I was pregnant with my first child, my mindset was, 6 weeks after I have a baby, I'm going to go back to work. And, and about a month before she was born, my husband looked at me and he said, I think on this, I might know you a little bit better than you know yourself. And he said, I don't think you're going to want to go back to work. And that was like blasphemy. I mean, you could not have said a more offensive thing to me at that point in my life. And I looked at him and I said, you are crazy. Of course I'm going to. And the baby was born and I just couldn't. Something that I never knew existed, something so primal and beyond explanation, it rose up in me, and I knew this baby is my first priority. I'm going to quit my job.
and she laughs because I'm laughing because look at the new backdrop that I just got from my podcasting studio, and then the picture that's right over her head. And so when I say that, we didn't plan to wear the same outfits today.
Anyway, I just knew from the core of my being, it was the right thing to do to leave my job, my career, which was the center of my life. And my husband was very supportive of it, even though we didn't make the money for that to be the right thing to do. I had a healing practice on the side, but it was very part-time at that time. So we did that, and my husband was working on his gardening business, and then we're in San Diego, and then the recession hit, and everyone fires their gardener first. And so I had left my career, which was very stable, very solid. And then we lost all of his accounts within 6 months. And here we are with this baby going, oh my God, what are we going to do now? And one night, it was actually December 2nd, 2009, a full moon. I walked outside, and the light of the moon beamed down into my body and said, you're moving to Texas.
And other people, I mean, as you we just want to talk about this is often people say, oh, we don't have enough money to have a child and all of this. And then here we go in this situation where we have the child. We really didn't have enough money to start with. And then we're going to like empty out the coffers and go have a spiritual adventure in Texas in the middle of what seemed to be like, I mean, I've heard her over the years say like, what am I doing in Texas? And, I kind of chuckle because Spirit dumped me in Palm Springs all these years ago. And often you get these adventures or these spiritual, directions, those who are really aligned to their path that say, hey, you're going here. And there's like come hell or high water. There's no way of moving from there. There's no way, when I get in, not complacent, then I'll say, all right, well, okay, it's time for a new house. All right. The new house is 2 blocks over from the old house.
Right.
So it was a little slow going when you first got there to really find a community who was really ready for the Reiki and the shamanism and your full moon ceremonies. So how did that come into being?
When we moved here, there was nothing like that here. And we got here and we had lived up in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area for a year with my husband's mom. And it just wasn't home. And I had started to grow a healing community up there. And trained this wonderful woman who has now grown a beautiful community there. So when we got here, it's a little bit more open up there. We got down here in New Braunfels, and I remember the evening my husband and I were sitting at the table, and I said, okay, so I guess I'm going to start teaching my meditation classes here. And he looked at me and said, don't you dare. Just very fundamental, lifestyle here. Very, and I said, but we're here. There has to be a reason for this. I'm going to just see what happens. And so, just a couple moms groups I was in, I just started to put the word out. Hey, I'm teaching meditation classes. I offer, healing sessions in Reiki, and people started coming. The house that we lived in at the time, behind the garage, there was a separate cute little room that we turned into my healing space and my office. And when I say grassroots, I really mean it, because I think my first meditation class had 2 people in it. And I've just kept going and just kept trusting. And like you said, always asking, so many times, crying, Spirit, why did you put me here? Why? And to see what has grown and evolved and the need for this work here, that has really pulled me through those scary, dark times of what the heck, I'm a surfer girl. What am I doing in Texas? It's pulled me through that. And it's been so rewarding and satisfying. And I've just had tears of gratitude more times than I could imagine.
Especially like taking the girls down to the swimming hole every day. It's like this really amazing place. And both of her children are wind whistlers too. I love that. They were like the first indication that children were going to actually, for those of you who don't know or are listening to this, they're going to love this wind whistle. Oh, can I play it? We forgot to play it.
Oh, want me to play mine too?
Yeah, I was thinking we could play a concert. I was so excited about this. And then stay tuned, because we're going to talk about homeschooling your children and creating community based around values, family values, and the earth.
I love that.
Okay, so we're going to invite the wind in for the next part of this conversation.
Are we going to blow 3 times or 1?
Let's blow 3 times.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Renee,
Ooh.
if you don't mind, I really want to, let me grab it. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Did you just break your wind whistle?
I did.
Wow, it must have been done after that, huh?
I know. It's funny, that one in particular, its energy has always been a little sluggish. And when it fell, I felt this huge release.
I've had to break some actually at ceremonies. I've just had to just crack them open.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the life in is that I'll have to send you a new one.
Yeah, but I would love to blow this one once, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
To Sequoia, because remember when we were doing all that, like waking the whistles up and asking
Right.
out, this whistle told me that it is for bringing community together.
Oh, great. That's
okay. And we'll do like a special release wind for this.
I felt that release right away. It was a boom.
Right?
Wow. They have a life. These whistles have a life. And I've had to, like when I was doing a thing, I had to actually break one and I could feel the energy of it releasing. So it's sad to say that sometimes you have to let your wind whistle go, but you do.
Yeah. I've done a lot of work with that though. So it may have been tired. Okay, here.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
That's the big daddy wind whistle. I'll have to see if I can find some more of those.
Yeah.
I love the wind whistling. And for those of you who are not, who don't know about winds of spirit and wind whistling, there's, she could say that. Get the book. I was going to put up this ad today that says, buy this book. Like, so selling books is a whole new experience, a whole new game. And I just decided to put it on the back burner for the second as I get back to what I really like doing, and that's creating community and teaching and all of that. So tell us, speaking of teaching, how did you grow this homeschooling community? And, it wasn't without fanfare and, some backlash from the natives.
Yeah, right.
And in natives, I mean, I think it was the far-right Christian people who all of a sudden took a turn about not liking this nature-based tradition, or I'm not sure exactly what happened.
No, it wasn't that. So
that's good.
No, it wasn't that. No. We're accidental homeschoolers. I didn't set out for us to be homeschoolers at all. My oldest child's birthday is like right near the cutoff line for enrollment into kindergarten. And in Texas, kindergarten is actually optional. And when the time came to, kindergarten signups, it was very obvious to me that she was not emotionally ready to be gone all day, every day. Intellectually, yeah, of course, but emotionally and attachment needs wise, everything in me said, this child is not ready for that. And so that was an awareness I never really foresaw having. And neither was the awareness that I needed to not enroll her in school. I mean, never in a million years would that have entered my mind. There's a lot of homeschooling in this area. And so I had been, I'd met a few people who did it and was instantly intrigued because, how cool to hang out with your kids all day. And get to experience them and be with them as they grow and develop into who they are, and to give them the time and space freedom to figure themselves out. So we did homeschool kindergarten, and always and still kind of have like a year by year, reassessment. And at the end of that year, we were having so much fun. My child was so happy that we just decided to keep going. And at the end of the first year, so I had been meeting people through being in a mom's group for kids younger than kindergarten. So that whole first year, I didn't really know anyone, and we're not from here, and we moved here not knowing anyone. So one night I said to Spirit, before I went to bed, I said, we've got to meet some people, give me some guidance, give me a dream, a message, whatever, tell me what I need to do, because we need some people. And I woke up in the morning And I heard Spirit's voice say, you need to start a group. And I thought, no, that's not my job. I don't want to do that. And Spirit came back to me and said, you must. And I went, hot dog. Okay. It's pretty clear, and, we do have, different perceptions and experiences in our family culture. It is very fundamental here. The existing homeschooling groups at that time, they just weren't a good culture fit for us. Great, amazing people, just different culture. So I did it. That day, I went on Facebook and I opened a Facebook group. And at that I even told Spirit, I said, well, then you need to tell me what to name it. And what came back to me was homeschooling off the beaten path. New Braunfels homeschooling off the beaten path. So that very day I started the homeschool group. I was shaking. I'm like this, I'm a secret introvert, right? Like making this Facebook group thinking who's going to join it, and it got big for here. And we have a different name now, Nature's, because some people were like, what does that even mean? So now we're just called Nature Schooling Group of New Braunfels. And it just has grown into this. We meet our friends every Friday. We go on field trips. We go swimming, and we do lots of nature stuff together. So what it is, and what my desire was, what I miss about Southern California is the cultural diversity, the thought diversity. So what I wanted was for nature to be the common ground, that all different kinds of homeschooling people could join. So there's people with lots of different religious beliefs and spiritual beliefs, people with lots of different ways that they homeschool their kids and approach their own family culture, but with this this common ground of enjoying being outside together.
That's great. I love that. And I would imagine that just is a natural growth. How many families are now participating in that group?
There's about 60. We just went through kind of like our first group pruning after many pruning, just people who just weren't not active in the group. And so
Right.
Kind of got it down, getting ready to just have a new experience.
So tell us what we don't know about homeschooling. Is it like, do the children use a computer program for their studies, or how does that even work?
Yeah. The world of homeschooling is so huge now. There are so many families that are doing this for so many different reasons, that for every family, there is a style and approach that you can find that you can either, you just dials right into your family, or some people pick and choose. For the early grades in our family, so kindergarten, first, second, third, we use Waldorf inspired curriculum, like all-in-one curriculums. And I don't necessarily use everything in them, but I use it as the foundation. And just this year for my oldest, she's been doing some stuff on Khan Academy, which is online. She did the entire 3rd and 4th grade geometry in like 2 days. So, what I love about homeschooling is that it gives each child, in public school, and it works for some people. It would not work for my oldest, who she goes through these bursts of massive artistic creativity where all day she's consumed in like designing doll clothes and making art and writing poetry, all this stuff that's just coming from within her, and she can't be bothered with, okay, but we have to do the spelling test right now. So maybe she spends like a whole week or 2 weeks just getting her ideas out and being super creative, and then that wave will kind of pass, and then we'll get back to our regular schoolwork. So there's this freedom there, which, we have that as adults. I don't know, it's kids are that way too. They ebb and they flow. And so, if she's really into reading for a while, we're really focused on language arts. And then for a while she gets really into math, and then we're focused on math. So by the end of the school year, it's usually all evened out, but it's not in the, this way that we would find if she were in school.
And what about the younger one? So are you like managing 2 grades? How does that fit into the life?
It will be the first year. So she's just about to be a kindergartner.
Okay.
So I've been doing some reading from like bloggers and stuff that I respect how they manage grades. I think so this year, my oldest, she's designing her own curriculum. What she really wants to do is make 6-week blocks that include, reading and math and, everything else, but with a focus that is her own interest generated. So, she's interested in learning about Texas history this upcoming year. So, we're going to do we'll do like old Texas recipes and, she's learned math by cooking. That's how she's learned fractions. And when we got to doing all that stuff on paper, she was like, oh, this is like just in the kitchen. Yes, this is like what we do in the kitchen.
How wonderful is that? I mean, just think that she's designing her own program for next year.
Yeah. So I think she's really, obviously I'm involved with it every step of the way. But I think she's really ready for that sense of I'm in charge. I want to be in charge of what I'm studying. Of course, we have the subjects that we're going to study, but she's going to format it and pick the ideas. My youngest will be doing Waldorf kindergarten. So it's a lot of play. It's a lot of art. It's a lot of outside time, a lot of just really being in the body. Basically, it's an extension of what she already is living, just with some kindergarten education stuff.
That's so very cool. So, all right. So Heather combines this. She's a school principal, a school administrator, and she also has a vibrant healing practice of her own. And I know if I have a question and I need some clarity, tell us, how do you say you ask spirit and you get these information? How does the information come to you?
Okay, like that one time a couple years ago when you posted, hey, guess who the wind is for the summer? Remember?
Right.
It was this full body impression. So it's like I get, I don't really know how to explain it. It's like this feeling that comes into my body that is encoded with lots of information and pictures. So it's just this instantaneous kind of knowing and awareness. And I've just learned to trust it.
That's great. So there might be people listening who might be in part of your homeschooling or other things. So tell them, how could they start to trust their own intuition? What would be a baby step, a kindergartner, Waldorf kindergartner step to trusting your own intuition just a little bit better?
That's a good question. And I actually get asked that a lot. So I'm going to share what I share with people when they ask me that. So I find that the quickest way for a person to develop their trust in their own inner knowing is to go outside. So we spend so much time in these boxes and, we make them pretty and they're great to be in, but nature is where all of those parts of ourselves that kind of go to sleep a little bit when we're inside all the time, they wake back up. So if you have a question that's usually where people want to start, is how can I get confirmation for a question? Go outside, ask your question to spirit or to God or whatever you call that infinite, and let nature answer you, right? You might get the wind on your face. You might see a bird that flies by. A lot of people that I work with in my I guess you call it my mediumship practice. I never know what to call that. When people come to me to close, when they've lost people and they are not resolved. It's interesting to me how many people see cardinals every time they're thinking of their loved one. So
I see feathers.
You do?
Well, there was a man who used to run our sweat lodge, and after he passed, whenever something was like really inspired that I was about ready to do, I'd see a feather and I'd always say, oh, thank you, Richard.
Yeah. So yeah, so most people, there is something that happens usually outside that has happened most of their life when they're wondering something. And so what I tell people is just start trusting it. Even if it doesn't make logical sense to trust it. Why would it have made logical sense to trust move to Texas? I'm a California girl, right? But this is the best thing that could have ever happened to us. So just take baby steps, trust it on something small, and then you'll start to have this experience of this feeling in your body when you're connected to your instincts and things are congruent and you're in integrity with the direction of your soul. There's a feeling in your body.
But one of our recent guests, Lori Lothian, had her magical suggestions about how to know when you're in the flow. And one of them she suggested was you just shuffle up your iPod and the song that comes on is going to give you the guidance that you're seeking. So you have to, so, so there you can go back and listen to some of these and probably get some more guidance. And then there's also, opening up to the back of the book for some wind guidance.
Yes, I do that.
Like I just had the appearance of north as a favorable north wind indicates that you're now ready to move beyond your current vision. Heather.
Oh, awesome.
So what would that look like? What can we look for? We're coming to a close here. I will definitely have you back. And also we're going to be doing weekly wind card classes, and I'm hoping that, Heather will help facilitate them along with some of the other wind mastery students, and where we're going to actually start to work with this as an oracle and how you can use that in your life. So definitely come join us over at the Wind Clan. Tell us one last thought, and where can people find you?
I can be found on Facebook. I'm really learning to be better techie wise. So my website has been in progress for a while. You can find me on Facebook at Center for Awakening Arts. You can send me a message, even if it's just to say, hey, how's it going? Definitely, if you're in Texas, send me a message. And from there, I do have it's a secret Facebook group called Awakening Tribe, where there's a community. So if you want to be part of that, send me a message on the Center for Awakening Arts page, and we'll get you connected.
That's great. And she also does, if you're in Texas and even the Austin area, right? She does a month.
South of Austin.
So she does a moon ceremony every month, and she also teaches Reiki classes. I guess I'm going to have to boost her up here. So, and you can go see her for a healing. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of ways to connect with Heather, and especially if you're moms and you have questions about, this too. I mean, she's really raising two very awake children who are learning to dance with adversity and changing times and everything like that. So I'm really grateful you're in my life.
Oh, I'm grateful to be in your life too. Yeah, most of the people I work with are mothers.
Oh, good. All right. So her niche is mothers. Mine's business executives. Yours is mothers. Yeah. I guess I wouldn't be. I get them born. I get them married and born, and then they probably need to go somewhere else.
Right.
I'm great at relationships. Like people come to send people to me when they can't keep in a relationship, and or if they're having a big change of life. It's really interesting. And let's close on that thought. Is like how people, like, they have their specialties of who gets attracted to the type of work they do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's neat. That always intrigues me too.
Yeah, it is very intriguing. So if you're like one of those people trying to brand yourself, really look at who comes to you already, and that kind of gives you a good idea of, like, who's already being drawn to you. And if it's really somebody who's really sick, definitely join us over at the Wind Mastery program, because you can raise that up so that the people who start to come to see you, develop as well. All right. Well, until next week, this is the Practical Shaman Podcast. It's CAT approved. Sami's up there keeping an eye. And when you started to talk about one thing, she got up and repositioned herself. So if you think she's not listening, trust me, she is. All right. Have a wonderful week.
Bye, everyone.